just outside Shercock on the Cootehill Road, at the turnoff for Kirtlahan, fondly named the L6109. Drive on for about 2 minutes and you'll find Barnagrow Lake, and most likely you'll find the friends of Barnagrow.
My name is Rosabi McGarry and I'm part of the committee for Drumgoon Hill Old Graveyard, a medieval graveyard sitting on an Iron Age ring fort. So this year we have extended our interest to the wider part of the Drumgoon region, namely Barnagrow Lake. Now this lake is of great interest because it has 2 Crannogs on it from the Iron Age era. And I will now introduce Eugene Markey, who will give us a brief story on the history and the era of Barnagrow Lake.
It's an interesting story. A Crannog will tell you so much. To think about it, that these boats, these dugout boats, that's all they had, were used to carry out stakes. There were forms of axes produced that they could pint the stake into the ground. They were wise enough and able enough and organised enough, because it wasn't one person, it was a community working together, organising themselves to construct this building, because that's exactly what it is. And then to bring out maybe 100, 200 tonne of stone and throw it between the stakes and build that in such a fashion that it has survived for over 1,500 years.
I always tell a bit of a tale or a story to them when you bring them out in it about people here years ago that used to be out in it on underground passageways and so on. So yeah, a lot of customers like to hear these kind of stories. I bring 2 customers out in a boat at a time for a full day's fishing, 8 to 5 in the evening. At 1 o'clock, we pull into one of the Crannogs or on the bank. We set up for lunch. We have a bit of a barbecue and we set off for the day and do the second half of the day fishing again.
So it would have been connected right down through the Erin system, through the Annalee and through all of that. So it may have been an isolated place in ways, but it was always connected as it is today to the people round about, and that's evidenced by the number of people who come here to enjoy this lake for social amenity.
A lovely thing to do, you meet new people, as it was of course in the lockdown, but also what it does, it makes everybody feel very valuable, because safety is first, and we go out for a swim, never ever goes anybody on their own.
There are 2 definitions as to what Barnagrow means. It can mean Barnagrow, which would mean the hill summit of the nuts, which could indicate that there was a hazelwood around here at that time. Hazelwood was important for a number of reasons. It was, first and foremost, it was a source of food. It was also a source of timber that was used for weaponry and also used for utensils that the Celtic people would have used. We called them osiers or sallies even back then. They were the people who built the first kind of habitations that we can still see around about. The hill forts like the Doon and Drumgoon, which is connected to here, both socially and strategically as well.
It was one of the best decisions I ever made, because when I started coming here, I met a great bunch of women of all ages, and they were so welcoming. There was a place for everybody, and we started. It was a community, and it did us so much good physically and socially and certainly psychologically, because as soon as you get the WhatsApp message to say anyone coming for a swim this evening, you'd absolutely be buzzing to get to the lake. And we'd come up to the lake, we'd do our swim, and then we'd come out of the lake, get changed, and we'd usually have a cup of tea or coffee with us, and we'd stand around or sit around, and would discuss the problems of the world and put them to right.
When this idea came up, it was just farmers looking for water. There's one here holds 80,000 gallons of water, and it goes to gravity flow then all over the whole area. At that stage there would have been about 100 odd people linked up to it. The scheme went well anyway, to the point now where I think we have in the region of about 250 members on it, and it was a godsend. I remember once in particular being at my dinner and I looked out and I seen a man coming on a bicycle, and he's had a hat in his hand and saying, "In the name of God, where are you going?" He says, "If you got the persecuting that I got all my life, drawing water to cattle, you'd pay for it when you got it."
So even though it was a slightly kind of remote it was a place that could sustain not just the entire population of the area, but certainly more the elite of the people who would retreat to the Crannog where they were safe and bring whatever treasures they had with them. And one of the great treasures they had would have been the quernstones, because you need that to make food, and you need food to survive. Of course, here with Barnagrow, if you take it another way, it can also mean the bare hill or the hill summit of the cattle huts. Now, when we think of a cattle hut, we're not talking about a place where cattle were driven in at night. That did not happen. Cattle were not sheltered. It's a hut similar to a shepherd's hut. So the younger, it was a form of rites of passage for young men in those days. Up to a certain age, they had to prove themselves by basically guarding the flock. And the flock may have been no more than, who knows, 10 cattle at the very most, but they were precious to the people living here. And they had to be guarded, not just from other people, but from animals like wolves that were in this part of the world at that stage as well.
The Cavan Kayak Run, hosted by an enthusiastic group of locals, is the highlight of the year at Barnagrow Lake and surrounding hinterland. Every summer, people of all ages, levels of fitness and abilities from throughout the country enjoy the challenge of biking, running and kayaking around the beautiful rolling drumlins of Modjabon. There is a strong sense of pride surrounding this multi-activity event since its inception in 2010. The kayak run has always been about fun, inclusion and showcasing the best of what rural community spirit can achieve when people come together to plan, share and enjoy active participation in one of the best known community-led adventure races in Ireland. The heritage, resources and spirit of Barnagrow Lake are at the heart of the Drumgoon community, providing recreational activities, natural beauty, drinking water and a rich cultural diversity stretching back millennia. In these times of climate change and challenge, this precious body of water will need to be cared for, protected and sustained by all those who enjoy the many activities, health benefits and resources that it has to offer. Community care and stewardship of Barnagrow Lake is needed now more than ever, so that future generations can also enjoy the heritage and biodiversity that this wonderful lake has always had.